Hello fiction fans, TH Leatherman here. Today I'm going to go over what it takes to write an effective hook. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is a hook? A hook is the beginning of the story where you're trying to get the reader involved so that they will continue reading. The hook is probably the most important part of the book because if you lose the reader in the first part of the book, they're never going to read the rest of it. I'm sure all of you can remember books that you've picked up, read the first few lines and said, yeah, no, not going to read this, and tossed it aside. As a writer, this is something you never want your readers to do. So writing an effective hook is the best way to prevent that from happening. So to be clear, the definition of a narrative hook is the technique of grabbing the reader's attention at the beginning of the book so that they want to continue to read it. There are several ways to hook your reader into the story. The first way that you can do that is with a quote. Now, it can't be just any old quote. The quote actually has to be related to the story in some way. So if you're writing a funny book, you might decide to start with something like this. Outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too hard to read. Groucho Marx. The next thing you might do to grab the reader's attention is to use an interesting fact. The world's largest scientific research facility, CERN, recently succeeded in producing the first particles of antimatter, Angels and Demons, by Dan Brown. Again, the fact should be something related to the book, but it can be something that's engaging, that gets the reader thinking, I wonder what's going to be the next thing. How does this relate to the rest of the story? Another thing you might try to do is use a descriptive setting, something that engages the reader's senses. She sat in one of the green leather armchairs. It was so deep she found herself nearly lying down, but she sat up again, tucked her legs under her, and took a look at the portraits on the walls. More old scholars, probably robed, bearded, and gloomy. They stared out of their frames, solemn in disapproval. That's from Phillip Pullman, The Golden Compass. In here, Lyra is sitting in a library and looking at the portraits around her and sitting in an overstuffed chair so that it gets the reader involved in the scene. Another thing you might use to engage the reader is witty dialogue. We rely on blockade runners like Houston over there. They charge us like a ballroom call girl, but we gotta pay to dance. The Burning Sun by TH Leatherman. Hey, it's my video. I can plug my own book if I want. Another technique is just to dive straight into the action. I always get the shakes before a drop. I've had the injections, of course, the hypnotic preparation, and it stands to reason that I can't really be afraid. Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. Now, you don't have to use all these techniques, but using multiple techniques in the beginning of your book to hook the reader is generally a good idea. Think of these as guidelines, kind of like in Star Trek. If you want to live long and prosper, don't wear a red shirt. The next part are the elements of the hook. These are things that every hook should have in it. The first thing that a hook needs to have is a question. Now, the question doesn't need to be overt. It can be implied. But the question needs to get the reader thinking, hey, what's the answer to this question? Curiosity is a powerful motivator. Even before he got electrocuted, Jason was having a rotten day. The Lost Hero by Riordan. So, why was Jason getting electrocuted? What had happened to Jason earlier in the day that made the day rotten? Did he run into Medusa? Dang, I really wish Medusa would stop objectifying people. The next thing a hook needs to have is it needs to introduce the character. The Deliberator belongs to an elite order, a hallowed subcategory. Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson. So, now we're wondering who is the Deliberator, and what exactly is this elite category? Another element that's good to put into the introduction of a character is what's known as the save the cat moment. That's something about the character that makes people want to relate to him, such as saving a cat. The next element that a hook needs to have in it is setting. In J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring, he begins the book with an elaborate description of the Shire and the people who live there, and exactly what a hobbit is and how they tend to view the world. This gets you set up for why this person in this idyllic environment might want to go on an adventure. And why doesn't Frodo wear shoes? Because he started walking around barefoot, and it became a hobbit. The fourth element of a hook is genre. In the beginning of the story, you need to put something in there that tells the reader what the genre is. In Heinlein's Starship Troopers, it starts with a drop from a starship behind enemy lines. Immediately you know this is a space opera. It's a sci-fi book. The fifth element of a book is the critical moment. The book needs to start with what writers call the inciting incident. That is the one thing in the book at the beginning that sets off the chain of events for the whole novel. In The Golden Compass by Phillip Pullman, Lyra saves Lord Ariel from being poisoned in the first scene of the book. Why did someone want to poison him? And that question takes us through the rest of the book. And we find out exactly how Lyra is involved and Lord Ariel is involved. In The Burning Sun by TH Leatherman, the beginning scene, the planet is being invaded by aliens, and that sets off the entire chain of events for the rest of the book. The sixth thing that a hook needs to have is a gripping first sentence. If you can get your reader hooked in that first sentence, the rest of the book is easy. Most of the excerpts I included for this video are the first sentences of books that I've enjoyed. Pack as much meaning as you can into that first sentence. Hook the reader early. So in summary, the types of hooks are quotes, interesting facts, or a descriptive setting, witty dialogue, or diving right into the action. The elements of a hook are to draw them in with a question, introduce the main character, and set the stage for the rest of the book. Make sure that the reader knows what the genre is within the first few pages, that you have that critical moment in the beginning of the book, and that you have a very tight first sentence. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. I post weekly. If you have a subject you'd like for me to cover, message me on Facebook. If you want to read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, check out the links below. If you enjoyed this episode, like or comment below. So long, fiction fans!